What is up, you guys? This is JP, and today we are going to talk about one of my favorite progression methods. As you guys know, and I've mentioned this dozens of times on my channel, is that volume is going to be one of the biggest factors in regards to you gaining muscle. And again, I know a lot of people talk about volume, and it's a very popular topic, and people want to try to talk about volume because it can be simple if you explain it in that way. I don't want to say it's a buzzword, but it kind of in a way has become a buzzword. But again, volume is important even if it's not the end all be all. Obviously you want to increase volume, but again, it's not just as simple as stacking on volume on top of volume on top of volume, just doing as many sets as possible, because again, there is a point of diminishing returns, and there will be a point where you stall and then even regress if you're doing too much. It's highly individual, and it's important to kind of gauge that for you. But again, it still is important regardless of how you cut it. It doesn't matter how you look at it. You as an individual have whatever X amount of volume that you need to do to get the minimum level of hypertrophy to start gaining muscle. And then you need to increase volume from that point. And again, the rate may vary. So one of my favorite progression methods to use for smaller movements, for isolation movements, basically movements that use a single joint, or just kind of compound movements that you can't overload as much. Now, it's mainly used for those type of exercises, but it can also be used for big compound movements when your rate of progression starts to slow down, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So this progression method is called double progression. Now, what you do is you pick a static rep range. You don't pick, you're not gonna change the rep ranges, and you don't wanna pick a really, really, really high rep range, nor do you wanna pick a very, very, very low rep range. So for example, a really good rep range that you could pick is, let's just say you do 10 to 20. That's a simple rep range that you could pick and work on double progression in that rep range. So what you would do is you would pick a load that would make you fall at the bottom of the rep range, and you want to have about, maybe I would say you could have anywhere from 2 to 5 reps in reserve or reps in the tank on this set and subsequent sets for that workout. So for example, let's just say you're doing bicep curls, barbell bicep curls, and you're doing 50 pounds. 50 pounds lands you around 11 or 12 reps with about 2 to 5 reps in the tank on that first set. What you're gonna do is, let's just say you have 4 sets. Obviously, as you go through the workout, each subsequent set, you're gonna get a little bit more fatigued. So let's just say in the first set, you had 5 reps in reserve, and on set 4, you had 2 reps in reserve. Again, you wanna have some reps in the reserve. You don't wanna have too many or too little, because it's gonna negatively affect the results that you get. So let's just say that's workout 1. So the next time you do that same exercise, what you wanna do, and what you hopefully can do, is you can do a couple more reps with that same amount of reps in reserve. So let's just say workout 1 is just exactly what I said with those reps in reserve. Next week, you get to the same exercise, but instead of doing 12 reps on the first set and ending at 10 reps on the last set, you are now able to do 14 reps on the first set, and you end at like 12 reps on the fourth set, but with the same amount of reps in reserve. So again, you're just trying to get more reps. It's called double progression because you're progressing in volume or reps before you're progressing in intensity or weight. So your goal is, from week to week, you're trying to climb up the rep range while keeping the same reps in reserve. Again, your goal is to get all the way to the top of the rep range. So at some point, how many weeks goes by, you're able to get to the top of the rep range for most of the sets. So let's just say you do this for 8 weeks or 9 weeks, and you're able to get 20 reps on the first set. The second set, you're able to get 20 reps. The third set, you're able to get 19, and then the fourth set, you get 17. That's pretty much at the top of the rep range for all 4 sets. So what you want to do at this point is you want to increase the load, increase the weight, so it forces you to drop back down all the way to the bottom of the rep range, or towards the bottom. Again, you just do the same pattern. You go all the way up the rep range again with that new increased load, and then rinse and repeat. So essentially, you're picking a weight or a load, and you're climbing up that rep range. And once you can stay at the top, then you increase the load, and it drops you back down because it's heavier. Now, the reason why you do this progression method and not just increase load week to week is, For example, a beginner might be able to increase load week to week initially on smaller isolation movements, but these are going to cap out quick. Again, using the same example, barbell bicep curls. Someone just starting out might be able to go 10 to 15 or potentially 10 to 20 reps, 10 to 20 pounds on the barbell bicep curl from week 1 to week 2, but they're not going to keep increasing that for that long. Think about it. If you're a beginner and you, on the first week, you use a 10-pound barbell for bicep curls. The second week, let's just assume you do a 20-pound barbell and you go up. And then you keep doing that. The third week, you're not gonna be able to go up to 30 pounds. At some point, you're going to have to, it's gonna slow it down. You're gonna try to increase that weight and you're not gonna be able to meet that specific rep range that you wanna meet. So again, it's just a smaller movement. It doesn't work like that. Whereas a big compound movement, if you look at a squat, for example, I've trained dozens of people who can start at 45 pounds. They can go up to 55 pounds to week 2, then 65 pounds to week 3, then 75 pounds to week 4. And at some point it does start to slow down. But again, we can make those same jumps for a while because they're making a lot of nervous system adaptations. They're getting muscle. It's benefiting them in that way to do that. You can't do that with smaller movements. So that's the main reason why you want to use this form of progression for these smaller movements, because you're not going to be able to keep up with the increases in load for that same static rep range. Now, this particular progression method can be used for big compound movements as well, but you should only do it when your rate of progression slows and you're not able to keep up with those week-to-week increases in load. So let's just take, again, a deadlift, for example. A deadlift you're gonna be able to put weight on week to week for a while, but again, eventually that's gonna slow down. A deadlift, you might need to kind of cater it a little bit differently, but for example, you could pick a different rep range for a deadlift. For example, you could pick a 4 to 8 for the deadlift. Keep that static rep range and implement this after you slow down on the week to week progressions. Climb up to that 8 reps with about 2 to 3 reps in the tank, and then once you get to that, you can drop back down. So again, you can use this for big compound movements too, but it might be later on in your program after you've reaped all those beginner gains. If you guys have any questions, comments, leave them down below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.